Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Are you ready? Let's get ready to ramp up your sales. And now the man you've been waiting for. He is the real Thrilla in Manila. The undisputed, undefeated, reigning, defending, pound for pound, heavyweight John, the sales machine, Rankins.
Welcome to the Sales Machine, episode number 1. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a treat for you today because I'm going to be celebrating the life of a legend who ultimately built the ultimate sales machine and implemented it into more Fortune 500 companies like AT&T, Virgin, Panasonic, Merrill Lynch, even T-Mobile, and created the psychology and methodology to be implemented so that they could have sustainable, scalable results. And that's why they're billion-dollar companies today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about the psychology and methodology built into technology today, and I'll reference that later, by Chet Holmes. This guy was ahead of his times, and he's been a mentor to me. Even though I didn't get to meet him, I've learned a lot from people like Jay Abraham, who was his partner. Shout out to you, Jay. And not only did I learn from this book, but I got the methodologies to implement that you can too to scale your business. Because what I know is that what he has done and what he did for all of these different companies, you can implement into your company right now. It's still real, it's still relevant. And a lot of the people talking today about future-proofing your business. But ultimately, the top 3 things I'm going to teach you today from Chet Holmes are: number 1, training. He understood the power of sharpening the sword and duplicating the results of your top performers. Number 2, the psychology, and not only the psychology of the marketplace, but also the psychology of the customer and the psychology of the clients that you want to onboard with your company, and the psychology of the top 1% CEOs. And then finally, we're going to talk about the methodology he used, which specifically was utilizing market-based data, educational-based marketing that he knew about in the market that actually moved people to act. Whatever marketing campaign, sales campaign that he implemented, he uses these 3 factors to transform companies into a sales machine. So the first one I would like to talk about is training. And what I want to do is read to you a brief excerpt from the book, The Sales Machine. If you take the time to sharpen skills and improve knowledge in every possible area, your company will start to run better, smarter, and faster, like a finely tuned sales machine. The companies that conduct the best training will own the future. So train constantly, train with enthusiasm, and train as you entertain. Lastly, and this is not to be overlooked, train or you will feel the pain. You see, a lot of people hire people today and they onboard them with a couple days of training. And unfortunately, they shadow somebody else to understand what they're supposed to do. Within a week, they're on their own. And companies wonder why they're failing. You know, along this journey, and I've been running a business for more than 30 years, I have identified the top 5 reasons companies fail. And ultimately, what can you do to not end up like them?
Listen to the end, folks, and I'm going to reveal the top 5 reasons that companies fail and how you can avoid it.
The second part of the framework that Chet Holmes used that you can implement into your business was the psychology. So he identified early on, even as a young man, practicing karate in his bedroom, how to sharpen his skills and to get better and better and better and better to master the art of karate. And he made a lot of mistakes along the way, but ultimately he found out that as long as he had pig-headed determination and focus and never quit, that he would consistently get better. That was his psychology for implementing into training. And after training thousands of different companies, Fortune 500 companies, he identified that there's really three types of CEOs or three types of executives. Number one, 90% are just tactical. They are tacticians. They think about doing an email marketing campaign, or they think about running an ad, or they think about lowering prices, which can all be effective on their own. However, you've got to understand that in order to build a sustainable, scalable business, they need to be strategic. So he identified 90% of these executives or CEOs are actually tactical. 9% are strategic. The challenge with that, according to his research and his experience working with over 1,000 different companies, the strategic executives, their biggest challenge is they cannot implement. The tacticians or the tactical executives are just doing the one and done and cannot create sustainable long-term results because they're not strategists. He found that the most effective executives in the world are the ones that have the ability. And if you want to become a top 1% company, think strategically, but they have the ability to tactically implement what needs to be done or delegate it so that there's long-term sustainable, scalable results. And he was an absolute genius in identifying how this psychology moved the market, how the psychology of the individual in charge moved the organization to become more and more successful. And finally, the third aspect of his genius was discovering and implementing how education-based marketing allow you to sell without selling to your clients. And the way he did that is using fear-based data or data that was in the marketplace, whether it came from Inc. magazine, from Forbes magazine, Harvard Business Review, all things that you can research to implement in your education-based marketing campaigns so that when you approach clients, instead of you just selling what you have, you come from a place of service and education. You know, he identifies in the book how he did that step by step, little by little, whether you're going to a specific niche, whether it's hair salons, whether it's car dealerships, whether it's any industry that you are currently working on, you can use this market-based data and research to empower them. See, Chet knew that every 3 minutes, a company fails. That every 32 seconds, there's a new CEO at a different company. He knew that there's going to be 26,000 new brands every single day being implemented into this world. He also knew that up to 30% of consumers will change brands. They will give up their brand loyalty. And that's why 96% of most companies fail. They don't use market-based data, education-based marketing to actually enhance their offer, to inform organizations what they need to do in order to future-proof their company. Number one, training. Number two, the psychology. And number three, education-based marketing. All things that you can do to implement into your business. All of us have challenges in business. And the ultimate reason that I created this podcast was to give you tools and strategies that you can implement into your business that are real relevant right now And Chets are still real to this day and relevant when used correctly and you identify the market-based data and the top 5 reasons why companies fail globally. As an example that I have done.
So here they are, folks. The top 5 reasons companies fail according to global authorities around the world. And number 1 from Forbes magazine is a lack of sales. Number 2 from Harvard Business Review is a lack of marketing. Number 3 from Forbes magazine again, lack of accountability. Number 4 from Gallup, lack of retention. And finally, number 5 from the Harvard Business Review, lack of training. All of these things are what's contributing to the death of companies all over the world. So if you eliminate the lack of and you identify that it's actually sales, marketing, accountability, retention, and training that are building the most successful companies in the world, you understand that there's actually a smart framework. And that's exactly what I did to use market-based data to build into technology, a smart framework that's automated to allow you to scale your business. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, what we call the sales machine. So if you want your success to be automatic, be scientific. That's what's going to take your business to the next level. And now for what I promised, for the top 3 things from Chet Holmes that you can build into your business that are real, relevant, and will make a difference right now. The first thing you need to do is build an ultimate training system, a 5-step training system for you to implement in your business to create sustainable, scalable results. And here's the 5 steps. Step number 1, the first thing you need to do is identify what training is needed in each area of your company. Step number 2 is to identify an expert to run that training in your company. Step number 3 is you've got to make it interactive. You got to get participation where people are involved. Step number 4, make it repetitive. Training is not something you did, it's something you do. And you need to create a calendar to implement it consistently if you want consistent results. Step number 5, you got to test and measure. You know, you've heard of the saying that people are reliable because they're tried and tested. They've been through the fire. Well, that's why we test our people, folks. We have to find out what it is that they actually learned. Are they competent from the training? And if not, train them again. That's the ultimate training system. The second thing you need to do is build a top 1% sales machine blueprint. 5 steps to do it. Number 1, you set up your strategic objectives of what you want to achieve. Number 2, you identify all the tactics to implement it. Number 3, you need to identify the steps and the milestones that you need to achieve. Number 4, you need to identify who will do what and when. And finally, number 5, set a timeline and stick to it. Finally, you need to set up the ultimate education-based marketing plan. Step number 1, list down what your strategic objective is. Step number 2, do the market research for your industry. Find the good and the bad. Step number 3, identify the biggest problems for customers in your industry. Step number 4, find market data that makes your product or service more important. Step number 5, create an education-based marketing campaign from that data that satisfies your customer and leads them back to you. Education about how you are unlike everybody else in the marketplace. And that makes you become the only obvious choice to do business with. That's building a sales machine in your business. Have a great day. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com, click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.